Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of whatever this is. Me going through a run that I did and then plus. This is a big one because this is not a 16 Necrotic Wake, since the other two runs were 16s. This is a 17. And with a priest, Disc Priest in particular, this run is kind of easy because the way you play Necrotic Wake is it revolves a little bit around these flesh crafters that throw an axe to players, and when a mob stands between those axes, they take a lot of damage. I think this damage scales with key level. I'm not sure. No, it definitely scales with key level, of course. And so it's kind of a way to remove the scaling from the dungeon almost, especially from bosses, particularly in the third boss area and in the fourth boss. I want to take a quick look at the talents here because this is a weird dungeon in my opinion. As you can see, I never run Halo for reasons that I'm not gonna discuss because I think Halo is not a good button. Um, However, I am running Shackle for the second boss. You don't have to. We have a DK and an Enha Shaman in the group, so you could argue that the Shackle is not needed because Trot Paladin can potentially kick every boss cast, and um, the two casters will be handled by the 3 DPS, right? However, we play the safe route, and I take Shackle here. I also take Life Grip for whatever reason. I could have not taken that actually. That's wrong. That's wrong, by the way. I should have put this point here into Word of the Pious or whatever it's called for 10% more Void Blast damage off the shield. So yeah. And I also didn't take Purge or Disease Removal because Disease Removal is taken by the Paladin, who takes Cleanse, and I forced my Shaman to take Purge because I really wanted the 2 points in Light's Inspiration and especially Bulwark. Holy Bulwark is not a good talent. It randomly saves you from something, especially from like ticking damage or very fast ticking damage, like on the first in the first boss area, these casters that do their AoE, or like the second boss AoE that ticks pretty heavily on a 17 and stuff like that. It just gives you like 1 or 2 seconds of lenience for some damage events. I also like to pick the bonus range here because I'm mind controlling in this dungeon quite a bit, and I'm also fearing, and I just think it's never a bad button. You could argue that it's not always a needed talent, but that's not how I like to approach talents. I'm not like, yeah, there's not really a use for this in this dungeon in particular. I'm more like, well, what if it's randomly useful? That's more how I view talents. So I just like to have it. It's quality of life, basically. That's what you would call it. And yeah, in the spec tree, I chose the purge extension this time. It really doesn't matter. You could take borrowed time or schism duration. With that, let's start the run. Yeah, I'm like debating if I have everything. The run always starts the same. You mines with this one harvest on the right and take the shield. Sometimes it's a paladin taking the shield. In this case, he does. And you pull the first area with Lust and the gatekeeper here in purple. The goal here is to beat the second AoE from it. So I obviously use Mindbender here, which I conveniently forget for some reason. It's pretty late, as you can see. It's like 1:30. Normally I have Mindbender up for this. And the pack explodes, so he doesn't do a second, which is very good. If you have shield there, I would advise to use it on a second because normally you don't get Mindbender back for the second AoE, and that's where you're gonna struggle healing wise. You can also just send it for the first, which is viable to do if somebody misses their stops to like watch these throw flash casts in particular, the whole dungeon actually. I'm probably not doing a terrific job at this key because it's late, but normally what you should do is like pre-shield the people who get an axe or maybe even paints up them. That's rare, but at least shield them. In this left pack, there's the first Flesh Crafter. Well, it's not called Flesh Crafter. I think it's. Oh no, it is the Flesh Crafter. Um, and what you want to do here is get as many of these axes that he throws into the big mob. Yeah. The DK. I appears see I appears the DK here because he gets a. We are in the AOE and he gets tossed by something and I want to save him. I'll just panic barrier here for the second rough because I don't have my thing ready, my mindbender. We end up taking no damage because AMZ is also up. I'm saving my mindbender here for the third cast, but he gets axed from that one mob, so he dies, which is very good for me. Oh yeah, and I think I'm I'm sorry for this next section. I think I accidentally put myself in focus there, which is on my Shift F button, and I kind of struggle to remove the the focus again. So I'm like kind of yeah. I need to press escape and not have a mob in target to remove the focus. You can just stop this mob if you don't have a mob in between you to catch the axe, which is what we end up doing a lot. We do not pull this third gatekeeper here, we pull the boss with this pack on the right here. As you can see, there's also a flesh crafter in this. The goal here is obviously to hit the boss with it. There's a better way to play this, by the way. The better way is to remove the flesh crafter from this pack entirely, like walk it out via mind control and then just root it or sleepwalk it and then occasionally break it to have like a guaranteed um, axe on the boss. It does like 50 million, I think, damage. We end up getting some on the boss anyway. I think at least one, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, it hit a mob there, but so this is not perfect like we play it. This is not this is probably not how you play it in a plus 19, let's say. I think this key will be timed on a 19, if not 20, by the end of the season. But let's talk about the boss. On a 17, but already on a 15, I think, if you use nothing on this, you die. By I mean by, from the wretch cast, obviously, the big disease that the boss like puts on you and it spawns worms here. The reason I take no damage here is because I get sacked from the paladin. I don't know if it's a bug or whatever, but if you get sacked, you take no damage from it. That's something to keep in mind. And I think he gets sack ready every 30, no, every 1 minute, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, you can see it below the group frame, right? It's like 1 minute. So this is something that you rotate with all the other CDs, and you just need to have a CD up for this. If you're very diligent with your dev CD usage, you even flash shield the artist before, like way before the cast, like 5 seconds at least. So you can also shield yourself and then like smite a little bit, and then when you see the target getting when you see the next target, you also can flash heal them and by via train of thought reset the shield that you just used earlier and also shield them. Then you have a shield on yourself and a shield on them, like depending on who gets the frontal then will hopefully be alive. Oh, it's on me. I think I just panic use everything here, which I didn't need to because we had sack, so that's a communication error, or rather me not watching that he has sack, but also the paint sub I shouldn't have used. But the Fate and Desperate Prey is like whatever, right? I get it back. we did a little oopsie here and used CDs. We sent CDs, which we shouldn't have done, I think. So this next section is actually kind of boring. We end up waiting for CDs, which I think is not something you should do in a 17. You can skip this left pack by soothing it and sleepwalking the sorcerer, so you don't have to play anything in this section. And I think we just wait here actually. So I'm gonna do this. Yeah, and then we start pulling. We wasted 30 seconds just waiting for CDs because we really want to do this pull here. A lot of the time you get asked to purge this purple mob here, the Narzuda or whatever he's called. In this case, it's my shaman doing it. We pop all CDs and hopefully kill this pack very quickly. These balls absolutely one-shot, you should dodge them. Thing to watch here also are the necrotic balls. The paladin drops low dangerously here, he has to bubble. Which is a normal rotational spell for a Proud Paladin, by the way. Like, don't be wondering, oh, why is he bubbling? It's like they're gonna use it on CD basically. It's like it's a bread and butter rotational button for them. I think I take another shield here, which I will not use for a while. Spoiler alert. We're also debating here at this point what to do with the with our CDs. Obviously, you can see loss coming up in 2 minutes, but we're playing this left pack here with the 2 Marauders. And as you know, if you've played the dungeon, there's a Necromancer in here and 1 Mage. I think this Mage is gonna get mind controlled here. Yeah, he does. So we don't have to do with the Frostbolt Volley Kick. And then we just blast the pack. This Necromancer puts like a nasty debuff on people that explodes after 4 seconds. Or 5 or whatever. And your job here is absolutely to track the debuff and shield the target at the very least. Ideally, after you send out a penance, to have some stacks of your Wheel and Woe. I'm PIing here, a Fear gets through for some reason, and I quickly dispel. I don't have Master Spell, so thankfully it only hit 2. I skipped this pack completely with Fade, and the Evoker will rescue one of the 3 people sitting in a mount with 3 people in them, so you end up skipping this whole section. I think we played this here without any CDs, so we can last the next pack. This pack is low-key dangerous because the sorcerers cast these wells on the floor, right? These void zones that you can also not see very well under the void rift. And I think somebody's gonna die here soon. Let's see. Shadow Well and no, it's on the next pack. I gave it away. I'm sorry. On the next pack, someone's gonna die. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So this pack is kind of slower because we don't have CDs and we don't use them. Even though they're getting ready now, we're obviously keeping it for the last pull. as you can see, I'm just kind of using stuff on CD, not really always Radiancing after Mind Blast when I can to get 2 more Penance Bolts to grow the Rift faster. And also have Atonements up for the 3% DR, and obviously if there's something going through that they quickly get healed up. That's like a general gameplay loop that you should keep in mind. I I end up clicking Shadow Death because I'm taking a sip of my cup, I think. I Mind Soothe the right pack, yeah, exactly, because I've pulled this before and wiped, and I think we are just lasting this. And the absolute worst thing that could happen happens here, and the person that API is gonna die. Spoiler alert. Just wait for it. Yeah, he's dead. He angs, thankfully. He did most of his damage, as you can see, looking at the damage meter. So it ends up not mattering. But this is very bad. Like in a so he died with PI, or at least some seconds of PI remaining, and in breath or quickly after it. So this next boss, I have some thoughts on this. I don't think I'm playing this perfectly, but I think there's 2 ways to play this. When we pull, I'm gonna pause for a second. Very obviously, I'm gonna start this fight with Mindbender and just use just do as much damage as I can, right? Because you also end up spearing the boss, I think. But let me pause here for a second. Well, let me pause later actually, after the first ad wave, because I think that's more interesting. The boss does these casts that absolutely have to be kicked. Mostly it's handled by the prot paladin, right? I end up shackling one of the mobs here, which I'm not sure you have to do. I think we could have handled this mob as well, but one cast ends up going through. Not very good. And I have to reshackle this because of some chain lightning shenanigans. He ends up mind controlling it. Okay, this is where I'm gonna pause. So, as you can see, my Mindbender has CD here. In my opinion, I want to use Mindbender here when the dot tick starts. So, there are just 2 schools of thought here. I want to have Mindbender up for every ad wave because I'm doing the most damage here and the most healing in case something goes wrong. But I also want to have Mindbender up for this part here. You can see it here, these 10 damage ticks of the dot that the boss applies to you after he like eats the ads, and if there's one alive, he wipes you, right? But he does the damage anyway. I'm not sure how to play this. When I'm being honest, like here I have at least Rift up, and I just heal a little bit of the damage, and I get my Mindbender up for the next phase, which is good, but you can see the group dropping low, and I think that's kind of normal. You cannot have 100% uptime, and you kind of need... Oh, the Shaman dies again here. I think he gets rest. Yeah. So this fight is a little bit... I'm a little bit scared of it. The DK even takes the frontal from the boss, so I pop Rapture to assist with healing him. And here we get the dot again, and this time I'm perfectly lining Mindbender with it. So I'm not really consistent in this fight because I pop Mindbender at the beginning, so it kind of desyncs until I start resyncing it with the dot. But as you can see, like now the ad wave is coming up, right? And I don't have Mindbender and not even Rift up for the beginning of it. So we end up falling behind in healing. So I barrier to give me some breathing room, and then I get Mindbender up. There's I think one more fight where this kind of scenario happens where you just take damage for a while, but you don't have Mindbender up every time. And that's the first boss in Mists and higher key levels. But that's maybe something that we should talk about in the Mists video. So this time I use it on the Ad Wave, my Mindbender. I shackle this mage as I do. I'm just kind of going with my healing, right? I'm just watching my Mind Blast and Mindbender cooldown like a hawk and try to like not have people die. I'm also watching the shackle here because if this breaks for some reason and he casts the thing, we wipe. Yeah, we end up dropping low here. The shaman pops his AG to assist with healing, but I also have Mindbender up, so we're fine here. And we just quickly kill the boss. So as you can see, this boss is kind of spicy. It's not a fight that you can perfectly heal. You need help. Yeah, either by assisting yourself with a barrier or calling for like AMC or like AG or whatever DevCDs. This first pull here is rather dangerous. I'm not sure if I shield. No, I don't use shield there, but this is also a popular place to shield. Use the shield that I'm like having from this area here. I'm even debating on using it, but I see the pack dying pretty quickly, and I just end up not doing it because we have good stops on the flash thingies, pro flash casts. Yeah, that's what they're called. There's a flash crafter in this pack too, who has the axe. We do not mind control this one. We just kind of kill it and use the axes to kill off the stitchworks and creation. Does it go through? No, it doesn't. It would have been better if this went through, right? Oh yeah, the mage from the boss actually releases here. We also kill it. And pay attention to this one flashcraft at the top left here. We let the first frontal go through, throw cleaver it's called. We put it on the creation, which instantly loses like 30% of its health. And then we sleepwalk it. I'm gonna pause you for a second. There's multiple ways to play this. You can sleepwalk it, you can hex it, you can mind control it. The benefit of mind controlling it is, of course, that you can just walk it over somewhere, right? You can just take it and place it here, for example, or here, or not just anywhere, and then you can like release it timely whenever you want it. This cast here has a CD of 15 seconds, which you will also see when you mind control it, right? But it needs to be released in order to throw the cleaver. You cannot use the ability when it's mind control. That would be ridiculous. So it ends up throwing another cleaver. As you can see, I rooted it with the void tendrils. I fear it here because the evoker needs time to sleepwalk it. And it kind of wanders off into the distance. I think it's here in the top left. So on me, I try to point it. How did we stop it? I'm not sure. I think it got stopped. This would have been very bad if this mob died before the X went through, because then obviously the Evoker would have died, or anybody standing in between him. I have the mob mind controlled here, and I just kind of place it here. I think I'm not releasing it for this one because there's already 2 axes, and it's kind of dangerous to release it here. So I just we just let it go AFK basically. I dominant minded again. I get a cleaver here, and yeah, the job here is to kind of time it with the fixate, basically. So it's actually not that easy to hit the cleaver then. I have it mind controlled again. I walk it over somewhere. It's on CD now, so he has to sleepwalk. Here you kind of want to kill the smallies off first with the invisible health bars. I kind of just color coded them like that because I think it's annoying. Does it hit? No, it doesn't, sadly. Yeah, I'm uncontrolling it because it's in melee and we want to keep it. And just place it there. It has a dot from me, which is not good. Well, it doesn't matter if it's mind control, but it would matter if it... Yeah, here. I think here it becomes a problem. We get the cleaver off, killing the gore grind, but now he sleepwalks it and it has a dot, so we hex it, and I think it still gets out, yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me just remind control it. It's a little bit messy. I walk it over there. And this mob is kind of dangerous. The 2 melees obviously get the it's like an AoE dot zone. And so they will not be glued to 100% life because your Mindbender has cooldown, your Mind Blast has cooldown, you just don't do full capacity healing 100% of the time, right? So you're gonna have to use Death Cities a little bit, and then we're also trying to hit the cleaver in the meantime. This one didn't end up hitting, I think. This one went to the tank, thankfully. But I think the next one should hit for sure. Yeah, it goes on me. And I think the DK dies from the... Yeah. Because I'm walking and I'm also not really tracking who it went to. Not really much advice that I can give here. Just try to be diligent with your Mindbender resets, and if you don't have it up, just call for something. Like AG is very popular, and of course like SAC or Rescue or whatever. I get the thing here, which I hate because I'm very bad at aiming, and I'm like, oh, if this misses, it's over. It ends up hitting, thankfully. I PI the Shaman here in Ascendance, and we just go to town on this thing, right? I break the Flashcrafter in order to get a cleaver in. We hit, thankfully. I end up delaying my Mind Blast for some reason. I just think I'm not paying attention really. As you can see, I should have used it way earlier. But I get it to line somewhat with my Mindbender. And the boss is almost dead when he jumps up, right? And we get it back immediately. And I think I released the mob here to get another cleaver in, which I didn't have to do at this point actually, but I still do anyway. And I tried to hit the boss with it, I think. Yeah, and I do hit it. Or? Not sure. Wait, did I hit it? Let's go back. Yeah, surely I hit it, right? 60 million, 50, yeah. See, it did 50 million damage. That's a lot. And we kill the boss. We have 6.5 minutes left at this point, so this key is timed, right? Just timer-wise. However, this boss here, this next one, is low-key kind of dangerous. And I'm gonna tell you why. I think in lower keys, it kind of flies under the radar, but this boss does a one cast that's very dangerous. Oh, by the way, yeah, I released a Fleshcrafter here, and we kind of stunned it. I'm gonna pause here for a second. Wait for pull. So you see the timer? Yeah, Icebound Aegis. It's a huge shield, right? And the way you're supposed to play this fight is, in the beginning, everybody is upstairs. So you just kind of blast through the shield. As long as the shield is up, you take damage, and this damage stacks. So the longer it stays up, the more likely you are to die. The way you're supposed to play this fight with mind control existing, and this Fleshcrafter here, is you release the crafter like 5 seconds or what before the shield goes off, and then you just let the axe hit the shield so it just depletes instantly. This makes the boss kind of free. It requires some form of coordination, though, that we, even sitting in Discord, don't have at this point. So don't necessarily do as we do here, do more as I say, which is to get the axe to hit the shield, because that's better. I think we end up failing this a couple of times, but I'm gonna play the video. So the first one just goes into the boss even though he has no shield. Oh yeah, see, he lost a bunch of HP. This doesn't matter for the first one because we're all upstairs anyway. It becomes dangerous if once he sends people downstairs, because then you have one player less. And the way it's supposed to be played, or how Blizzard has meant the boss to be played, is that you use the damage buff that you get from downstairs to help with killing the shield, or whatever. Bad English, I'm sorry. So as you can see, like 3 ticks, the 4th tick would have maybe killed one. I'm like not screaming, but I'm like shuffling in my chair at this point, saying, oh, we're not playing this correctly. We need to get this thing out. So I'm trying to break it, but it doesn't work. Because I really want to cleave it into this shield, because I know this is the only thing that can wipe us. And we pulled it off at least one time, and I think since the boss is so low, I'm not sure if you do it a second time. Let's see. I asked for a stop here, but he can't because he's frozen. So this just goes into the shield, but we are 4, and I think the DK is CD, so it doesn't matter. I shield here. I use the shield here just out of panic. We let another crafter go into the boss, not into the shield like it's meant to be. But as you can see, it also kind of doesn't matter if you have damage. The evoker dies here. The shield thankfully dies very quickly. We let another cleaver go into the boss. Or did it get interrupted? No, it didn't. And the boss is very low at this point, and I think at a certain point the boss also stops sending people downstairs. And I know I'm like an execute now, so I get the coveted shielded execute bonus healing there. Yeah, so I know we're not gonna wipe here at this point. For me, this key's timed at this point. If this didn't exist, this whole tech with the Fleshcrafter, I would advise you, or if you don't want to play it because you're only doing like a 14, for example, or a 15, or even a 16, you don't have to do it on any of these keys, is to just hold Mindbender for it and really like prep your healing like you would with any other possibility, and then just send your Mindbender and Mind Blast into this shield. This will not line up for every shield though. It will only line up for every second, I think. And the DPS still have to be kind of sending damage into this. You cannot solo carry this, no matter how much healing you prep for this. The DPS need to be on their toes as well. This ends up being my first 17, which is pretty big. I think this is not an easy key actually. It is timer wise, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong. The cleaver just randomly one-shotting people. The third boss area is pretty spicy. Of course, the third boss loves to go wrong for some reason. Even the second boss, even the first boss, just all of it. It's not mechanically difficult, but it requires some sort of coordination that most pucks don't have. At this point in the season, at least. Even though this is an old dungeon, right? But I, for example, have never played this dungeon in M+. I mean, I did back in Shadowlands, but I never seriously pushed M+ at this point, so this is the first time I'm doing it. If you want to see a cleaner version of this whole dungeon or of a Priest PoV, this is not the perfect PoV that I'm delivering here. Certainly not. We are not playing the first boss with the cleaver, which you could, and we are not playing this part here correct, I would say. Maybe it is correct because it actually ends up being more damage to the boss. Because I think the cleaver only ever can deplete the shield but not add any additional damage to the boss, if that makes sense. Yeah, but other than that, hold your Mindbender for the shield if there is one and you don't play the Mindbender tech, Mind Control tech. And then this key is sort of easy as this, honestly. It is also what I can recommend. You see it here in the top left. I mean, you don't know what it is, but I'm telling you now. On my R button, I have like a pet move macro. So I will move my pet to a certain spot. Yeah. And Shift R here is that I release them up. And Shift T is wherever it is here is the mind control, which I think is also like bound to mouse over, so I don't have to target the mob actually. So I can just like mouse over it. These are free macros, right? And it's a lot of stuff to handle for a new player to have like free macros just for mind control or for this dungeon in particular, because you don't really use it anywhere else. So yeah, I was like, I had mind games on R during Shadowlands, but this button just became empty then because, well, they removed mind games, right? So I just filled the macro slot with this. Yeah. Tomorrow we're gonna work on Siege of Borealis 17, hopefully. It's a key that is also not terribly difficult, even for 17, but I hope we can do it, and if I do, I'll for sure upload a video of that. So stay tuned and goodbye.